There is no money in speaking multiple languages. There is no money in speaking the local language. Now, those might be two very controversial statements out there, but I think I'm speaking from over 20 years of experience living and working across Asia, and I speak fluent Chinese, Thai, Lao, Indonesian, Malay, and I can get by in most of the languages across Southeast Asia. And I can tell you that just speaking the language is by no means a guarantee that you're actually going to do well in business or make a lot of money. Actually, it can work against you. Now, somebody who loves learning languages and loves learning them to a point that they're fluent, very often business is not their strong suit. It's not the area that they're going to excel in because they're spending all their time learning the language. They're passionate about it and they love people and going out there and mixing with it. But then things start to work against them. Now, I'll just give you a few ideas on this, but I'd love to hear your discussions and your experience on this. Speaking languages. If you go out and you market yourself as somebody who speaks languages, what are you going to do? You're going to be a language teacher? Or you might be an interpreter or a translator. And those three things there are almost guaranteed to make you not much money. You're always going to be working for somebody. Or if you're a teacher and you're working for yourself, there's a limit to what you can do on that. Now, if that's the case, is it important to learn the local language where you're doing? Or what is the reason for learning a language? I would say learning the language is super important, and actually it can be a tool for doing amazing business in whatever country you're living in. But it just has to be seen as a tool. And if you're going to sell yourself as somebody who's just who speaks the language or on multiple languages or great at languages, that's all you're going to be sold at. And the real business isn't there. Now, many years ago, I've worked for years as a simultaneous interpreter, consecutive interpreting, translating. And as I sat, and the fortunate thing, if you're at the level of simultaneous interpreting, you get to meet some amazing people and you get to learn some amazing things. And the more I sat and listened to these people, sometimes they're the people who are at the top of their game in each industry, I thought, wow, I couldn't get this kind of education in a university or at school. So I sat and learned. As time went on, I realized that in certain topics you started to build some degree of knowledge in this. And so I got into forums and got into groups of people who were actually in these industries. And with a facilitation background, I started to get jobs not just interpreting or translating, but actually going in there and co-facilitating in those topics. And that's where the real business started. Now, over the years, I've worked in modern trade. And that's like Tesco, Pepsi, and working in FMCG retail. Ended up doing training and learning all about FMCG and how to run supermarkets across Asia, and then facilitating these types of training through China, through Thailand, through Indonesia, Korea, you name it. Working in oil and gas, rather than just going in as an interpreter, it was much easier for the companies to train me up in safety, health and safety, and then go down on the ground, onshore, offshore, and start to work with the people on the ground directly, not as an interpreter, but actually as an agent of the company hiring. So here you see a pattern. It's not working as the interpreter, but it's using the language as a tool that gives you an edge over other people in the market, and then coupling that with another talent. Or another skill set, whether it's going to be training, facilitation, it could be a technical skill set. You might be into marketing, and the fact that you speak the language gives you an edge, and you know actually how to get into different markets that some foreigner couldn't get into. If you're just basing your career around language and you market it out as that, you're going to be an interpreter, you're going to be a translator, you're going to be a teacher. And in the eyes of the people hiring this, there is a set price to that, and that price is not that high when you compare it to other things in business. Now, even going and working in these different fields under different titles, for example, going in as a trainer or a facilitator, that still is selling your time. So there's one other area where the language can get you, and this is the fact that you speak the local language. You have access to people that people who don't speak the language have. And you also have access to information, intelligence on the ground that would normally only come through an interpreter or, say, a PA that some CEO hires on the ground. And everything is filtered up through those people. So if you can actually speak the language yourself, well, then you have a distinct advantage over somebody else in the industry. But just selling your skills of speaking the language isn't going to cut it. So I'd like to put it out there to anybody that thinks, I need to learn the language, or I need to speak the language. What are you learning it for? Having the language there is important, but you're also, if you really want to do business in this part of the world, it's probably best to couple it in with another skill set that makes you more valuable to the market, and not just an interpreter, translator, or a language teacher. Hope you've enjoyed this first episode of Wag the Dragon. I'll be talking more about what this whole Wag the Dragon concept is in the upcoming videos, but this is just an introduction, and we'll be speaking a lot more about doing business in this part of the world. I'm Stuart J. Raj. I'll see you for the next episode.